Welcome to another edition of Language Tutorials. Our topic for today is transitive versus intransitive verbs. What is a transitive verb? What does it mean when we say a verb is used intransitively? To find answers to these questions, stay tuned and enjoy this discussion. And by the close of it, we'll be able to learn what these verbs are and how to use them appropriately as you construct good sentences in your use of English. Now, transitive verbs, what are they? Just take these examples. She told. We spent. I have bought. We saw. Once you begin to look at, I don't know whether to call them sentences, what comes to your mind is what? She told what? Perhaps to whom? We spent what? I have bought what? For whom or to whom? And we saw what? Once these questions come to mind, I mean there is something needed to complete the action found in these verbs. That is called object. So she told something must come to be able to complete the action in the telling, the action in the spending, the action in the buying, and the action in the seeing. Now, that helps us to understand what a transitive verb is. So transitive verbs transmit actions to an object or objects. We can talk about direct objects or indirect object, but we wouldn't get into those technicalities. It's just a question of one object or more than one object, whether or not they are direct or indirect. Once the action is transmitted to something or some things, they are either an object or objects. So transitive verbs transmit actions to an object or objects. Now, it is naturally intuitive. Usually, we don't think of whether a verb is transitive or intransitive. The question comes to play when people wrongly use transitive verbs intransitively and intransitive verbs transitively, and it becomes part of our way of speaking or writing. We need to know these things so we can use verbs appropriately. Now, if you are in doubt, good dictionaries label verbs that are transitive with the letter T. Now that we are on transitive verbs. So when you open good dictionaries, Oxford, Cambridge, Longman, name them. They label transitive verbs with the letter T. And they give examples so you could tell what it means to use a verb transitively. Now let's go back to the example we saw. She told a lie. Now, oh, a lie. The a lie is the object. Now the sense is complete. The telling is transmitted to what? A lie. And it answers the question, what? We spent what? The money. Okay, the money is the object, which means that the verb spent is a transitive verb. I bought the ball. The ball is the object, and it completes the sense. We saw her. Her is the object. So these are transitive verbs, and they are appropriately used transitively. And interestingly, on the other hand, intransitive verbs are the direct opposite of transitive verbs. They do not take objects at all. They can stand on them alone and make sense, unlike transitive verbs. Now, whatever word or group of words that follow an intransitive verb is not an object, because we have just learned that intransitive verbs do not take objects at all. But a period or a full stop does not come necessarily right after intransitive verb. There could be other words or group of words, but they are not objects. Let's take note. Now let's see jump. Kind of complete in itself. Stand. Cry. leave, run, laugh. These are some examples of intransitive verbs: jump, stand, cry, leave, run, laugh. Now, usually, single verb commands turn out to be intransitive verbs, like come. Single verb commands turn out to be intransitive verbs. Not always, but usually. Now, let's look at these examples by going to pick those intransitive verbs. He jumped when he saw me. Jumped is used intransitively. Now, when you see when he saw me, is that an object? No, because it does not answer the question, what? It answers the question about time, when. So it is not an object. They stand anytime the judge enters. Anytime the judge enters is not an object. It is what? It answers the question, when. So it is not an object. What it is, we'll not discuss that in this video. Let's watch out for another video for that. So they stand anytime the judge enters. Even enters is an intransitive verb. It carries no object. So when he enters the room is not an object. It answers the question, where? Okay, so we would find that in another video. Let's continue. He laughed so loud that he woke up his brother up. He laughed so loud that he woke up his brother up. Now, laughed over here is intransitive. So loud that he woke his brother up is not an object because it answers the question, how? Okay, so it's not an object. So we can just say, he jumped, they stand, he laughed. The sense is complete. There is no need of any object, and there's no transfer of any action to an object. So these verbs are used intransitively. The interesting thing also is that some verbs could be transitive and intransitive at the same time. So they could be used transitively in one way and intransitively in another. Some of these verbs are the verb speak and others, as we'll see. So he spoke well. In that example, he spoke well, spoke is used intransitively because well does not answer the question, what? It answers the question, how? Then the second one, he spoke English. In that quest, spoke is used transitively because he spoke what? Language, English. So English becomes the object. So he spoke English, spoke is used transitively. He spoke well, spoke is used intransitively. So the verb speak can either be used transitively or intransitively. She drives beautifully. In that example, drives is used intransitively because beautifully does not answer the question, what? It answers the question, how? Now she drives her father's car. Her father's car actually answers the question, what does she drive? So in that quest, drives is used transitively. So speak, drive are verbs that can be used either transitively or intransitively. What we have learned so far is that some verbs are rigidly transitive. Others are rigidly intransitive. Some lie between the two. They could be used transitively on one hand and intransitively on the other hand. Now let's do this exercise and see whether the verbs are used appropriately in the question of whether they are used transitively or intransitively. He does not respect. He does not respect. Is that sentence correct? Our focus is the verb respect. It was hard to concentrate because Emil was disturbing. Our focus is disturbing. Is disturbing used appropriately? Just click and the screen will display. we have click, display. Are they used appropriately? Let's go back to the first one. Here, there's no respect. Respect actually is a transitive verb, but in this example, it is used intransitively. The question is, it does not respect what or who. So anytime that respect is used, there should be an object. It does not respect authority, me, him, grown-ups, people. So there must be an object. So we can say he does not respect authority. Example 2 says, it was hard to concentrate because Emil was disturbing. The question comes swiftly. Disturbing what? So what is disturb should be the object. So disturb is a transitive verb. It was hard to concentrate because Emil was disturbing me, disturbing the peace, disturbing the public, disturbing us. There should always be an object when we use the verb disturb because it is transitive. Then we have click. Just click. Click what? So just click the button, for example, and the screen would display what? Would display, for example, the logo. So click is transitive, display is transitive, and they should be used appropriately. Now we have seen that transitive verbs take object. The action of the verb is transmitted onto the object. It could be one, it could be two, it could be more. We've seen that intransitive verbs do not take objects. Whatever follows them could answer another question apart from what, or to whom, or for whom. And if we are in doubt, we'll look up those verbs in dictionaries to determine whether they are transitive or intransitive. And examples will help us. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. Stay tuned for more. Have a wonderful time.